The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
your robotic brother! That is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him.
Yeah, so we're back for a second week in a row of, new releases, which is super exciting. We don't get a lot of, Frankenstein content, but suddenly all kinds of fun stuff in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
This week we're talking about The Creator, which is still in theaters. This is Gareth Edwards' new movie. He's got just a stacked resume of great movies. The 2014 Godzilla and Rogue One and Monsters. I feel like this looks like his most big budget thing, even compared to all of those. There's so much going on in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel bad because it's not really being hyped.
Yeah, it really hasn't gotten as much attention as it should.
And this is a blockbuster. This should be be well known.
Yeah, I feel like this should be on par with the Marvel movies that get huge rollouts, but because it's not an established intellectual property or whatever, it's harder to get that buzz going.
Yeah, those fucking producers being worried about trying new things those ever make money.
Right.
So let's talk about this cast. So we got John David Washington as Joshua. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and he's kind of up and coming, right?
Yeah, he's been in a lot of good stuff in recent years.
Yeah, Malcolm and Marie, Tenet, which is a Nolan film, which, man, did anyone really like that one? I feel like it should be better known and liked than it is, right?
Yeah, it feels like maybe there's a little bit of Nolan fatigue at that point.
It's very possible. And it is a wild premise, right? It's kind of almost a movie in reverse, but not exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he was also in Black Klansman, which I love that story, Ron Stallworth.
And he was also, the thing I most know him from is the TV show Ballers, actually. The show with The Rock, which was surprisingly a pretty good show. It's about sports agents and stuff, and he's one of the athletes in it.
Yeah, fair enough. Then we also got Gemma Chan as Maya. I feel like she's been in a lot of stuff too, right? Raya and the Last Dragon. Okay, that was a thing.
Oh, she was in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, she was in Captain Marvel. She was Minerva. Okay, I remember. That's where I remember her from.
Okay. And then we have kind of smaller parts from Allison Janney and Ken Watanabe, who are both big deals.
Right. So Ken Watanabe, do they ever actually really say his name? Because Harun is his name. I feel like they only go brother.
Yeah, I just wrote him down as AI leader. That was I didn't know. I don't think they ever said that in the movie.
Right. And you were talking about Allison Janney, aka another that lady actress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's just in everything. You could not even scratch the surface of all the stuff she's been in.
I mean, DuckTales being the new DuckTales being amazing.
Yeah, her IMDb list is 141 acting roles.
Damn.
Yeah.
We're talking the new Addams Family stuff. Ma, she was in Ma. And of course The Simpsons, because everybody's in The Simpsons.
Right. Yeah, it's if you're a serious actor, you've been on a CSI, and if you're a comedian, you've been on The Simpsons.
Yeah, so at least once. We start off with an explanation of what a nirmata is, being Nepalese for the creator.
Yeah, and that it's the Nepalese word for creator, but it's specifically colloquially used as the term for the architect who created AI, and also amongst AI, it's the word they use for their god.
Right. We don't get a whole lot of actual worship. There's some monks, but they seem more Buddhist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really do like the way this starts out. You get like newsreel kind of footage, and it looks like it's a mix of like real newsreel footage, and then it just kind of like morphs right into like fake stuff that they've made for this, because it starts with like early robot stuff that like does exist, and then it just
from the
like
50s and 70s and stuff.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like, you know, seamlessly transitions into like
Johnny Five.
Yeah,
we get Johnny Five eyes.
Yeah, so you know, it's like a little newsreel about the progression of robotics and AI and stuff like that.
AI and robots have been integrated in all aspects of our lives. And then we also get the atrocities that the robots have been forced to take part in, namely, you know, suppressing regular citizens.
Yeah.
So that's a little prescient.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah. With those like weird dog things that police are starting to use.
Yep.
Yeah, that's unfortunately probably coming more and more.
Well, the good news is at least their jobs, the people who are going to lose their jobs are cops. So no, I'm kidding. Hey, Cap. Anyway.
I think we go straight from the newsreel footage into like a sort of press conference. I guess, was this supposed to be like, I mean, it's like a high up general, right? Or like a Secretary of Defense or something. He's in like a military coat.
Yeah, they actually name him, what is his name? General. He's like the one general against all AI, basically. He looks like, and I knew it. It's Ralph Ineson, who, once again, has been in everything. The Vivitch. Being one of them.
Okay. Yes.
Game of Thrones. The guy's in everything from now on.
Yeah, the witch is definitely what I'm recognizing it from now that you say that.
Yeah, he was also in, for those of you who are Diablo fans, he was in Diablo 4. All, like, 5 of you.
And his, like, press conference, he's like, so apparently, like, sometime in the recent past, the AI, like, conglomerate or whatever nuked LA.
Yeah, within 10 years ago, they did a Skynet.
And so now America has declared war on AI, and New Asia. They have not. And so it's surprising. He's like, we are not enemies with New Asia. We're only enemies with AI. But, you know.
Because New Asia is harboring AI. Oh, his name's General Andrews, by the way. I don't think we said that.
Okay. It's very like Battlestar Galactica, you know, like we've got this war with the robots. And like that, you know, the AI, there's various generations of them. We do see some that are robot looking, and then we see some that are person looking.
Yeah, it's obvious that the more robotic ones are the older ones, and the more human ones are newer.
Yeah.
And we're going to get even newer ones.
Yes.
But then we get taken to Konang in the year 2065. So apparently the nuking happened in what, 2055?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty soon.
Yep, within the next 30 years.
Yeah.
Look what we got to look forward to.
Right.
LA getting nuked in 2055.
Yeah. So we see like a group of soldiers landing on the beach there, and kind of, or like landing in the water, and then kind of like making their way up the beach.
Yeah, this is like a SEAL team insertion.
Yeah. You know, they've all got their guns raised. It's dark, but there's also this weird thing in the sky that is like scanning the ground with like lasers.
Yeah, I feel like that would give away their position, though.
Yeah, it seems pretty intrusive.
Yeah.
We'll eventually be told that this thing is called Nomad. It's kind of like a battleship in the sky kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also the worst. Just the worst.
Oh, for sure. Cut to a couple that are laying in bed, and they're kind of like flirting and joking. She's pregnant, and like, I think, you know, they're making jokes about like, maybe he's not actually the father. But, you know, it's very playful and sweet.
Yeah. We get a shot of their tattoos, though, as well.
Oh, yeah. And this is John David Washington. You know, these are our two main characters here.
Right, Maya and Joshua Taylor.
Yes. They hear like a commotion downstairs, get up to go see what's going on.
It seems like one of the Americans isn't very good at his job.
Yeah, so it's like a group of, it felt like it was going to be like the American soldiers bursting in, but no, it's a bunch of AI who have captured one of the American soldiers, and they brought him there. So there's definitely something kind of strange going on here. They're like, okay, we got this under control, and they kind of send the AI robots out, and then Joshua reveals that he is actually a spy for America.
Well, initially he's like, oh, we have to kill this guy because he's going to tell everything. Maya, you go upstairs and pack. And then he just fires off a random bullet to act like he killed the guy. But yeah, he's working with the Americans.
Yeah, so he takes that soldier's walkie-talkie and he's like, call off the raid. I'm really close. I'm almost there. If you do this, it's going to fuck up everything. All of the undercover work I've been doing for, however long. You got to turn back now.
They start talking about Nirmata, and that's when Maya decides to come back downstairs. As pretty much the cat's out of the bag, that he's like, you're fucking up my gig, man.
Yeah, and she's obviously pretty upset. Like, clearly, these AI came to her. Like, they trust her. She's part of this society or whatever. Joshua tries to kind of, like, calm her down, and he's like, but, yeah, I'm just trying to, like, keep us all safe. AI is not real. Our love is real.
Right. You and I are family. Those things are not family. They're not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not the right thing to say to Maya.
No, definitely not. So she just, like, runs out of it's like a kind of hut or something. Then we just get a lot of, like, fast-paced stuff. She's, like, running through tall grass. The big nomad thing drops some sort of explosive.
Right, it literally, like, puts a target on her before dropping the bomb. By the way, I'm assuming these are nukes, right?
It seems to be, yeah.
Right. Well, fucking Joshua, man, he's got to be irradiated to shit by the end of this movie.
Yeah, he's, like, right there.
Yeah.
And after the bomb goes off, we just, like, get a black title card that just says The Resistance. And then it says 5 years later, Joshua is now waking up in this small room that almost looks like a hotel room, but I think it's like his actual bedroom. And we see that he's missing an arm.
He's missing an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and so he goes straight to like a medical examination or something, and his doctor's like looking him over. They're really concerned about his memory. They want to know what happened that night. Does he remember Nirmata's location? Does he remember anything about where he was in the process? He told them that he was almost there, but now he swears he doesn't remember anything.
Right, and of course, because this is the future, they can tell he's actually being truthful, at least as far as he's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, he keeps saying, no, whatever happened, like, I don't remember. And then it just cuts to, like, a little later, he's now working sort of like a menial service kind of job.
Disposal, technically.
Yeah, it's him and this other woman, and they're like, they're in the LA Ground Zero cleaning stuff. And then, like, an old school AI robot just comes, like, rushing in, and they take him out, like, they hold him down, and then I think...
He starts screaming, though. He starts screaming, like... Where is she? Where is she? I can't find her.
So Joshua shoots it, kills him. The girl, who like we'll only have in this one scene, I don't think she's ever named. She's really upset. She's very disturbed by this because even though this robot looks pretty robotic, does not look human.
It had human emotions and interactions there.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like he was feeling something, and she was like, "What if there's more to this?" And Joshua was like, "No, it's not real. It's all programming."
I love how she's like, well, it felt pretty fucking real.
Yeah. Clearly, whatever happened with Joshua in the past, like, he didn't learn anything from his time with Maya. It seems like they definitely had differing opinions about AI.
Right, absolutely.
We get another newsreel clip about the Nomad aerial ship, and like...
Right. Nomad is standing over New Asia to help us win the war.
And I think that's like on a TV in the background while like Joshua is sitting in his room, and he picks up a photo of him and Maya, cut to a flashback of when they were together. So the arm wasn't from this bombing. It was something before, and so like she was helping him like put on like a prosthetic and everything.
Right, and help him calibrate the hand.
Yeah.
He acts like he's holding on to her and he can't let go.
Yeah.
It's pretty smooth.
Yeah. Cut back to the present, and he's crying like at this memory, and then goes for a swim. When he like comes up out of the water, there is several military officers around him. They want to talk.
Right. They got one last job for Joshua, which you know how that goes.
Yeah, they say that they have located Nirmata's lab, and that Nirmata is developing this new super weapon called the Alpha O, and that could just completely turn the tides of the war and defeat the U.S. So they
because
need to
it's specifically designed to take out Nomad.
Joshua's like, no, I did my time. I'm done. Like, I'm out. Then they give him the thing that would convince him to come back in, which is that they say Maya is actually still alive, and they've got like photo evidence to prove it.
But not only that, they got scans to prove she's actually human, So if it's not a clone, it is actually Maya.
Yeah. Obviously, of course, that does sway Joshua. We cut straight from that to Joshua and Colonel Howell and a bunch of soldiers in like a troop carrier plane.
Right. Wouldn't it be terrible, though, if the U.S. government lied to people?
Right.
Okay.
They'd never do that.
Yeah, never. All right, anyway.
So Colonel Howell, who is Allison Janney, she's like briefing the soldiers. They're supposed to find Armada, find the weapon, and destroy it.
Right. Yeah, this is very much a Colonial Marines from Aliens scene, kind of where they're getting ready to go ooh-ah.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. The carrier does land. You've got laser scan from Nomad up above, like presumably covering them. The soldiers kind of make their way into the brush. Where they think the AI base is supposed to be, there's just
a village.
A little small village, just a couple little huts, and just some Asian people. It's New Asia. We don't know. It's not clear.
It's probably like it seems it's synonymous with Vietnam. I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely looks like footage you've seen of the Vietnam War or Vietnam movies like Apocalypse Now or whatever. It's definitely that kind of terrain and just the way that everything's being played up. It's definitely leaning towards that.
Right.
But they know that there's got to be an AI base around here, so they just immediately start threatening the villagers, tell us where the base is, tell us what's going on. One of the soldiers takes a dog hostage.
Right. A puppy. Not even just a regular dog, just a puppy. He's like, I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah, just holding a gun to a puppy's head. The villagers are all just like kind of panicking, but they're not telling them anything. Meanwhile, Joshua's just kind of wandering around looking at stuff, and then he sees like a shrine, and he goes over and there's like a stone that he grabs and twists.
Yeah, it's a secret entrance.
Yeah, a giant hatch opens up in the ground,
right.
And they have found their base.
And by the way, the guy who held the puppy hostage, his name's McBride. He's kind of an asshole if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. He's going to be... We only really get to know two of the soldiers. McBride's one of them, and he sucks.
Shipley.
Yeah. They head down into the hatch, and instantly they're just shooting up the place. Like, there's no, like, everybody freeze or, whatever. Like, they're not giving anybody a chance to
surrender?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like the music that's playing is like happy-go-lucky music, It's like they're just sitting there just jamming out, and then all of a sudden the American soldiers come in and just start shooting everybody.
And this isn't like a base full of soldiers. This is a base full of scientists working on stuff. This is like a bunch of dudes in lab coats getting shot up.
Yeah.
But like the scientists are, they've definitely got a mission that like they end up kind of running, and a couple of them get behind like a blast door and close it, so they're protecting this Alpha O from the
whatever
soldiers.
That may be.
Yeah. And at that point, we do start getting AI military or New Asian military entering the base, so now the American soldiers are kind of flanked.
Right.
Time's running out, and one of the guys ends up cracking a code that ends up opening the blast shield.
Yeah, Shipley starts hacking. He starts hacking it, but then whenever more of the reinforcements show up, he's like, all right, I gotta go. Don't go in there without me, Josh.
Right. Of course, he does. It's like behind the blast shield, there's like a weird pod thing. Joshua goes into the pod, and there's just a kid sitting in there watching cartoons.
Okay. Seems like a normal kid.
And so Joshua kind of like starts talking to the kid, and then somebody else approaches.
Just shoots him.
Yeah, 'cause he's like, Maya, and he turns, and then gets shot, and it's like this older lady, just a villager.
Right, and she's like, come on, kid, let's go. And then the kid's like, no, I'm good. And she's just like, all right, well, fuck off, and leaves her by herself.
Right. The kid's supposed to go find the Nirmata, runs into the jungle, and we've got Joshua chasing after him, running through the fields, calling for Maya. Yeah, everything's just chaos. Things have gone very bad. Some of the troops get back to the troop carrier. It starts to lift off, but one of the troops had like some sort of explosive that stuck to their back. Which goes off and causes the whole carrier to explode.
They fire these interesting little bombs at people.
Yeah, it's pretty smart. These adhesive bombs that just like stick to people's backs, and things go bad.
Yeah.
The Nomad starts dropping charges, and the base kind of gets blown up.
Once again, sending Joshua sprawling.
Yeah, Joshua and the child both end up kind of getting knocked over by the blast, but not hurt. They're not in the very center of the blast.
Right. And that's when we cut to the child card.
Yeah. So we get Joshua waking up. He is in a boat that is like up on the shore of a beach. The child is kind of just like sitting there watching him. Joshua gets up and they kind of start looking around. He ends up finding, this is where he finds Shipley, right?
Yes, he finds a radio. There's like a cornfield nearby that's going off. He goes over. There's Shipley barely alive in the middle of the cornfield, and that's when we hear the new Asian police are basically searching. They're closing the gap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Joshua is able to guide Shipley. They get into a house to hide, and the kid follows and instantly just goes over to a TV and turns it on and just starts watching cartoons again.
Yeah, then we get this amazing gag where, like, Joshua keeps trying to turn off the TV. The kid just turns it right back on with their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then over Shipley's walkie-talkie, Colonel Howell checks in. Joshua gets on the walkie, and she's like, did you find the weapon? And he's like, yeah, but it's a kid. She's like, okay, well, kill the kid then. That's perfect. Joshua is, hesitant to kill a kid as much as he doesn't seem to like AI. That seems a little too much. And then he goes over to the kid and sees that they are drawing this symbol that is the tattoo from earlier.
Right. Also, this is when Colonel Howell gets arrested by the military, New Asia military.
Yeah. So she's kind of distracted at this point, and Joshua is like, "Where did you see this? What what does this symbol mean to you?" The kid doesn't get a chance to answer because a villager bursts in and is like excited to see the kid, and
they have a universal translator, and the robot's calling the kid a miracle.
Mm-hmm. And he assesses the situation, feels like Joshua has kidnapped the child. So he starts trying to kill Joshua, but Joshua manages to pull a gun and shoot first.
Well, he literally says to the kid, "I'm going to kill the American for you." And Joshua hears that on the translator and is like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah. So this villager seemed to be human, but when Joshua shoots him, it turns out he is also AI. Because some of the more human-looking AI have, like, big holes going through their heads with, like, where you can see spinning stuff. Yeah. But this guy just looks straight up human. But yeah, when Joshua shoots him, you can see, metal stuff inside of him.
But of course, what's going to happen when you fire a gun? That's going to alert the cops.
Yep. So they got to escape. But first, Joshua pulls out a picture of Maya and is like, "Do you know her? Do you know where she is?" The kid seems to. So Joshua's like, "All right, come with me. We got to go." And like kind of tries to drag the kid out to this truck. And they get inside.
They load up Shipley too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're getting ready to try to escape, but then they're surrounded by a bunch of police who throw a grenade. This is such a silly gag.
It's great, though, honestly. It's amazing. Because, like you said, they throw in the grenade to try and take out, I guess, their ultimate weapon and the Americans.
Yeah.
But what they didn't count on was that there was a really good boy or girl.
Yeah. The dog's just like, "Fetch? We're playing fetch?" Right. Picks up the grenade, carries it back to the AI police, and it goes off.
Well, the dog doesn't go off with the dog. The dog throws it down the hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the dog's fine.
Yeah, it rolls to them, and then they start panicking. They're kind of like Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Droids. Like they seem pretty inept at this point, and they've kind of got that similar build, like the long heads and everything. And
well, they do the gag when they get blown up, where some of them are wandering around without a head, looking for their heads.
Yeah. This movie doesn't have a lot of comic relief in it, but yeah, this definitely felt like it was supposed to be a comic moment.
With all the intense scenes, I think we need a little levity, right?
Yeah, for sure. So in that chaos, Joshua and the child escape, and then we see Howell and McBride. They're being transported by the AI police that have captured them, and
I believe there's literally just like one robot guardsman called Omni that appears multiple times. And he tries to interrogate them a little bit.
Yeah. They've definitely got a plan.
Well, what they do is McBride is like, "Hey, here's my pack. It has all the information, you need in it. So just look in there and you'll find out everything, and then we can all go home." And Omni takes it and looks inside of it. And that's when Hal gives him the nod to go ahead and kill the guy. He garrotes the robot, which, that's a new one. And then they get his gun and shoot both the drivers, and they basically steal the vehicle that way.
Yeah. Joshua and the kid, they wake up with Shipley, and they're like, Shipley's like, "We need to go back to base. Like, you've got the weapon, like, we can still fix this. Like, everything's going to be okay.
And if we don't get back to base, I'm going to die."
Mm-hmm. And then he just dies.
Yeah.
Like pretty much immediately. Just we get the first instance of like a kind of a running motif in this where like the kid like looks at Shipley dead and just says off. Right. Being AI, like she views things as an AI would, that like there's off and on. So Shipley has been turned off.
Yeah, for good.
Yeah. There's like a truck approaching. Joshua's like, well, we got to go again. What do I call you? Like, I can't, you can't just be the kid. She's like, I don't have a name. I don't, no one's given me a name. And he's like, how about you're Alpha Zero? Let's just call you Alfie. That'll work.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. But she wants to be called Candy.
Oh, right.
Because she likes candy. And he's like, nope, there's too many girls in Las Vegas called Candy. Nope.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
He's a good dad.
So Joshua kind of like puts a toboggan on Alfie so that the hole going through her head is covered up so she can look like a human. They try to like leave in the back in the truck, but the truck breaks down on the road, and then they see another vehicle approaching that's not the police. It's just some like villagers.
Locals, yeah.
Yeah, so Joshua gets out with a gun behind his back and is like,
right.
hey.
He's like, hey guys, how's it going? Can you give me a ride? Me and my kid a ride?
Yeah, and then it just cuts away from that. It's pretty clear he is going to commandeer a vehicle here.
Right.
Cut to Howell and McBride, who, they're traveling in their vehicle, and they come across the abandoned vehicle that Joshua was just in.
With Shipley's body. Yeah,
Shipley's dead inside.
So this is a really cool, we've seen stuff like this before, but I don't think we've seen it used in this way. So apparently even humans have, chips that have their, engrams. I think that's what it's colloquially being known as. And so they take an image of his engram, but because he's been dead for so long, they only have 30 seconds max? Mm-hmm. And then they put his engram in another body, AI body. Mm-hmm. And turns out that, he's pretty certain that Taylor's a traitor.
Yeah, he kind of is panicking. He's like, tell my wife, and they're like, no, we've got 30 seconds. We can't talk about, yes, you're dead. Give us valuable intel. Pretty much all that he gives them is that Joshua's a traitor. Mm-hmm. And then he dies again.
For good this time.
Yes. Meanwhile, the vehicle with Joshua and the villagers is arriving at a police checkpoint, and Joshua's laying on the floor holding a gun. If you say something, then I'm going to shoot you.
And it gets a little tense as the cops start, they start asking about who's with you, is there anybody else there? And then one of them comes around the side and sees Alfie and starts trying to talk to Alfie.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, Alfie she does this very meditative, puts her hands together. That's her way to control things. And suddenly everything just shuts down in the area. It's like an EMP has gone off. Mm-hmm. So everything's just dark. And then suddenly the vehicle they're in turns back on and just starts driving of its own accord. So
right. Presumably Alfie driving.
Yeah. So she helps them all escape.
And I love how Josh was like, all right, is anyone having fun yet? And of course, the villager kid is the one who raises his hand.
Yeah. We see Hal and McBride. They hear a police bulletin about what has just happened. And they're like, okay, we got to follow this. This is clearly Joshua. Right. We also get a shot of the AI that they had just used for Shipley's download or whatever. Another AI police officer comes and sees this dead AI body, and they have the same face.
Yeah.
I think that's the first indication we really get that they're using copies of the same appearances.
Yeah. Well, here in a minute we're going to get explicitly. Apparently, your likeness is very similar to your plasma or blood donations.
Yeah. People can donate their likenesses to the AI cause.
Listen, how much money do you get paid? You got to get paid something for that, right?
You would think, yeah.
I mean, come on, we've just had strikes about that.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, and that's a perpetuating thing. You donate plasma, when it runs out, it's out. But they can keep using your likeness forever, so...
That's big bills right there.
Yeah, better be.
Yeah.
So then we get, Joshua and Alfie continuing to be on the run. Alfie is going to help him find Maya. They end up getting on a bus that's kind of heading out away from the city. While they're on the bus, this is one of I would consider one of the most important scenes in the movie. They start getting very philosophical while they've just got downtime.
Right.
Like, so where were you made? And he's like, no, AI are made. I wasn't made.
Born.
Yeah. And, she's like, who made you then? And he's like, well, my parents did.
Right. And where are your parents?
And he says they're off. They're up in heaven.
Right. And of course, Alfie's like, okay, what's heaven then?
Yeah, and he says it's a peaceful place in the sky. And as he says that, the camera just cuts to a shot of Nomad. Yeah.
The opposite of heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Then Alfie's like, oh, so are you going to go to heaven someday? And Joshua's like, no, you have to be a good person to go to heaven.
Right. And it's interesting that Alfie's like, okay, well, I guess neither of us are going to heaven because you're not good and I'm not a person.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, that's obviously sort of one of the central things here is like, does AI count because it's sentient? Is it a person? Like, right. That's obviously the American force doesn't believe that it is. But, the more time we spend with Alfie, the more it seems like...
Maybe.
Yeah. Then we kind of get like a little bit of just montage stuff of them traveling, searching. They're in a train station at one point.
Well, we also find out that, obviously Maya has donated her likeness at some point.
Yeah, but
she's everywhere.
Yeah, they're looking for Maya, and they keep finding her, but it's Maya with the weird hole running through her head. It's not the real Maya. Mm-hmm. We get the next chapter, which is the friend. We meet the friend, who is, what's his name?
Drew.
Drew is seemed like he was kind of like Joshua's handler for his undercover mission. We find out that Joshua's mission was specifically to kind of fall in love with Maya.
Right. He was always meant to do that part.
Yeah, because they believe that Maya is the daughter of the Nirmata. Mm-hmm. And so, hopefully Joshua can build up this relationship, gain her trust, and then, make contact with Nirmata.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've got this really special tracking device that just happens to look like an engagement ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So get this on her any way you can.
Right. So then back in the present, we've got Joshua and Alfie wandering the city. There are big digital billboards like Times Square or, Tokyo or whatever.
Right, that just happen to display their faces at that time.
Wanted posters everywhere. So yeah, things are not looking good for them. And in fact, they go past I think was this a toll booth? I don't know. There's just a guy in a little booth.
Yes, and he calls the cops on him.
Yeah. Of course, they don't know that, but he just kind of quietly does that. But then Joshua ends up taking Alfie to meet Drew. Drew's still operating in the city.
Right. Kind of his own little, I guess, I wouldn't say a U.S. embassy, but pretty close to it, to a degree.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of gone native a little bit. He's got a girl that's with him that we'll eventually find out is AI as well. He was...
Well, is she AI or is she augmented human? She seems like an augmented human.
Okay, she might be. Yeah, it seemed like at one point he was Joshua's contact with the U.S. military, but it seems like now he kind of is doing his own thing. Maybe. Like
CIA running his own drug cartel now.
Pretty much, yeah. I kind of got that vibes that he was embedded pretty deep at this point.
But we also see something that I think is one of the coolest shots of the thing, is that they're 3D printing the robots. That I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But it is distressing when you see the eyes start moving around as the things are effectively born.
Yeah. Joshua is thinking that this is a good place to hide out, maybe get supplies and continue to search for Maya and everything. Do we get Drew's partner's name? I can't remember if they say what her name is.
Man, I feel like they say it one time, but I couldn't tell you. Is it Kami?
It might be. Yeah, I think that sounds right. And she, she's really sweet. She's trying to kind of, care for Alfie as Drew and Joshua kind of talk logistics and everything.
Right. She looks like she stepped right out of Cyberpunk 2077. Because she's got the line and the metal implants in her skin.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely the most anime person in this movie for sure. She's like, well, while they're busy talking, why don't I get you a snack? What do you want? And Alfie's just like, for robots to be free.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any of that in the fridge. How about ice cream? You want ice cream?
Yeah, and Alfie sounds interested in that, so they go off together to get that. Or no, Drew is looking at Alfie while she goes to get the ice cream. Yeah. And he's like, the tech here is super advanced. I'm not going to decrypt her and find out where Maya is or anything. That's way outside of my abilities.
Right, and besides, Maya's dead. That's what Drew thinks.
Yeah. Obviously, Joshua, is, I've seen her. I know that she's alive, and Drew's still very skeptical of that. But he's like, I can't get any information out of Alfie, but I can tell that she's very powerful and that her powers are only going to grow.
Well, also, he says that she's going to grow. She's going to have, a normal human growth cycle.
Yeah. And as she gets older and more powerful, she could control all electronics across the entire globe remotely. So, obviously if that happens, she is the most powerful thing on Earth and can basically bend the world to her will.
Yeah, and definitely take care of Nomad easy.
Yeah. Obviously, Drew is kind of frightened by that idea, but before they can kind of really do anything about that, the police, they arrive.
Oh, you mean the ice cream delivery?
Right.
Now, Kami, you know good and damn well if a guy shows up with his face obscured, and I don't care if he's your Grubhub or your Food Dash or whatever the hell he is, if he's got his face covered, don't take that food.
Yeah. Yeah, she carries in the ice cream, and it is a bomb that goes off.
Right, she's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and it seems like it mostly does damage to her. So then we've got Joshua trying to get Alfie to safety. Meanwhile, the AI police are also trying to get Alfie to safety. Everybody is convinced that the other side is the bad side here.
Which, to be fair, if the Americans got a hold of Alfie, Alfie's dead.
Yeah, but Joshua ends up in this big shootout. He kills most of the police bots, and Alfie is just sitting in the corner watching cartoons, just completely nonplussed by the whole situation.
Right, and then it looks like there are 3 cops left. They have their guns pointed right at Josh, but he does see one of those. It's like some weird sonic gun that just kills AI. A&B gun, I guess.
I guess.
But anyway, he grabs it, spins around, shoots the 3 cops, and that's it.
Yeah, so, it's just lucky for the movie's plot that Joshua just happens to be a super soldier.
Right.
He's like the Jason Bourne of this movie.
Effectively.
And so then Joshua goes and finds Drew, who's laying on the floor, cradling. Yeah, she's dead.
Yeah.
Then we just cut to Hal and McBride, who have arrived at Drew's apartment outside, and they follow more police in.
Right, they act like they're cops as well.
But it's too late. Joshua, Alfie, and Drew have escaped, and Drew has figured out how to turn on Maya's engagement ring tracker again. So they're trying to follow that signal to see if maybe Maya actually is alive.
Right, and then when all the cops get into that little area, McBride and Hal just shoot the shit out of them and take everything over.
Yeah.
Hal's famous words are, hack everything.
Right. While our trio of heroes are traveling, Drew's like, Joshua, you don't know the whole story. You don't know everything about your placement. You don't know all the backstory.
We got information that night that kind of changes everything.
Yeah, and Joshua's like, we don't have time. It doesn't matter. I'm going to find Maya. So he puts on a spacesuit kind of thing, some kind of oxygen suit. He's searching.
They're going to their old house where, Maya and him used to live.
Yeah, so presumably this is to protect him from radiation.
Which the guy's been hit by 3 nukes. There's no way he's not irradiated all shit.
Yeah. Then Alfie says, my friends are coming, and we see a bunch of planes flying overhead, so they're on a time crunch here. They're just going to keep being followed. He gets to their former place, and obviously Maya's not there, but Alfie is followed, and Joshua's like, if you know something, please, I'm begging, please help me find her. This is all that matters to me now.
Help me find her, and we'll leave you alone. You get to do whatever you want to do, and that's that.
Yeah, and he loses his patience with her. I think he kind of shakes her a little bit, and she starts crying. Which, if she can cry, she's not, she is human at that point. This is a scared kid who's feeling emotion, and I don't know what else you need to be, counted as a human.
Right. At least sentient, right? For
sure. And Joshua sees the tears in her eyes, and he apologizes.
Yeah.
And at that point, Drew comes rushing in and is like, they're coming.
And gets shot to shit.
Yeah. Yep. So he falls and is dying. And is like, Joshua, you have, before,
I die, you have to tell you everything.
Yeah. Maya is not Nirmada's daughter. Maya is Nirmada.
Oh, no. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Well, we find out that's not exactly true either, though, but kind of is.
Yeah.
It kind of is, kind of isn't.
Yeah. And so then Drew does die. Joshua grabs Alfie, and they run out, but they are completely surrounded by a bunch of AI soldier police officers.
Right. But they're saved by Brother!
Yeah. So he's sort of the leader or whatever of this group, and it's Ken Watanabe, and he knocks out Joshua, and while Joshua's unconscious, we get him experiencing memories of when he met Maya and as they fell in love. It's kind of they're
that shot brought him back a little bit.
Yeah. And that takes us to the next chapter card, which is the mother. When Joshua does wake up, he is imprisoned on this like boat. He's like in like a brig or something. It's almost like, it feels like they're like a SEAL team or something. Like they're like special force AI group or something.
Right. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, they're at least, you know, they're the rebels, I guess, is what they would be.
Yeah.
But Harun immediately tells him, hey, about Maya, her dad was Nirmata, but she took over for him immediately after he died.
Yeah.
So they're both Nirmata.
Yeah. And he also says the nuke that hit LA was not us. The AI didn't do that. It was a
coding error by humans.
Mm-hmm. And then they just blamed it on AI because it was better to say that than admit what really happened.
Are you telling me the American government would lie on a group of minorities? What?
Never.
Surely not.
Perish the thought.
Right. This fucking movie's too real.
Yeah. And, you know, he's like, we only want peace. Like, if we win the war...
You know what'll happen to the West?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, we're not going to attack you. We just want to be left alone.
Fair.
And Joshua's like, I'm not interested in this war anymore. All I want is to see Maya again.
But Harun's like, I'm never letting you near Nirmata. You're not going there.
Yeah, because the humans have to be tracking you some way. Like, if you get close to her, maybe you have good intentions, but somebody else will come after you and they won't.
Right.
He also says that Maya created this child to be able to stop all weapons. She wanted peace. She wanted the war to be over. That was the plan.
I don't think it's here where we get the big reveal, but there is another little secret involved with Maya creating this child.
Yeah. Joshua, again, he tells Alfie that, you know, I love Maya and she loved me and, like, I need to find her. I need to be with her again.
Right. And that's when we get, oh, hey, the bases are being attacked now. The Empire has found the bases and are attacking them.
Yeah.
So everyone gets distracted.
Yeah, and then while that's going on, Alfie helps Joshua escape from the brig. He runs, up onto the top deck and jumps overboard.
Yeah, they just stop chasing him at that point. They're like, all right, good deal.
And then he immediately just like...
grabs the bottom of the boat. It's like, you knew he was going to do that. Like, why?
Yeah, just rides back with them. They end up getting to like a little port. He sneaks ashore.
Well, we also get a lot of scenes of people praying over the robots. Like actual people, not just AI robots.
Yeah. This group of AI, this team or whatever, they're discussing what should be done with Alfie. She could bring down Nomad that could turn the tide of war, but she'll die in the process. She's still too young. If she emits that much power, it would be the end of her.
Right. Absolutely.
And then we see in this village, there's like a robot telling...
Storyteller.
Yeah, it's like a storyteller, almost like a preacher. They're like saying that, like, you know, there's a savior is coming one day, and when they arrive, they will end the war, they will bring peace. It's
humans and robots can live together forever in harmony in perpetuity.
Yeah, this is like the AI messiah. And, you know, Alfie is probably what they're talking about. And she's just kind of like standing in the crowd listening, you know, they have no idea what they've got there right next to them.
Right.
That night, we see Joshua kind of like sneaking around the village. And it's interesting, he goes into a hut and like we see a bunch of the AI and they're asleep, which you wouldn't think they would need to do. They're not like plugged into wall ports or something. They're all like, you know, in cots or like in like little hammocks and stuff. They're sleeping.
They're like people sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the process, Joshua finds Alfie and is able to sneak away with her while they're asleep.
Yeah, so he finds a gun first, and he walks up on Harun, who's holding Alfie. Obviously, Alfie is like, hey, what are you doing, kind of. And he's like, putting him into standby. And he just doesn't necessarily turn off Harun, but puts him to deeper sleep.
Yeah, because Alfie looks at him like, you know, after they've had this off conversation, and he says, standby, not off. He'll be okay. So they go out, they get into a boat, they start kind of like heading out into the harbor. Immediately the AI police are like back on the case. There's a search going on. The US military shows up in like the biggest like just giant fuck off tanks you've ever seen.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, these are like the size of buildings. They're huge. So they burst into the scene. It's just pure chaos. Joshua and Alfie are trying to escape in the process, but then Alfie
wants to go back.
Yeah, my people are in danger. These giant tanks are coming. I have to help. So she jumps overboard.
And he's like, no, we got to get to Mother. Let's go see Mother.
Yeah. So then we just kind of get this like big sort of battle scene that kind of goes on for a little bit.
It's both comical and terrifying that the boats, like, they use like almost holograms to draw the target underneath the boats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they fire on the boats, and it's like, you're fucked, right? When that happens.
Yeah, and there's like a bit where a monkey...
Yeah, it's like either a trained monkey or a robo-monkey. They planted a bomb on one of these massive tanks.
Mm-hmm, and it just detonates and blows up.
Yeah.
Then we also see there's like a bunch of villagers that I think are human, not human-appearing AI, that look like they're in the path of being hurt by the U.S. military.
Right, because they target the soldiers, the AI soldiers, with missiles. Literal, just individual soldiers with fucking missiles.
Yeah, and the AI like soldiers run away from the villagers to take on the missiles and not let the villagers.
Right. It almost looks like one of them's going to run into the hut with a bunch of kids, and he's like, "Fuck, their kids here," and runs off and gets got.
Yeah. So again, we're seeing like empathy from these AI, and that they don't have any kind of animosity towards humans.
Right, and they're willing to sacrifice themselves for humans.
Yes, completely. So again, when we have what the U.S. military is doing versus what these AI are doing, it's hard to say who's really experiencing humanity and who is become inhumane at this point.
Well, speaking of inhumane humanity, Colonel Howell decides to arrive with her kamikaze bots. Mm-hmm. Which, that's fucking... that would be demoralizing, seeing that shit happen. Because one of the first robot's like, "It was a pleasure serving with you, Colonel." And she's like, yeah, whatever, go ahead, drop off. And they literally just run at the fucking soldier, the rebels. And you can hear it beeping. You know what this thing is. Mm-hmm. And it's just running right towards you. Yeah,
and it blows up, and then Hal sends another one, and it runs directly to Alfie, who's just like standing on I think it's just like on like a
bridge.
Yeah, and it just stops in front of her.
Well, she stops it, right?
Yeah, she just kind of, but she doesn't do like the turn it off thing. It's still like awake, and then it like bows, like it sees her as like this savior figure for robot kind.
Right.
And then McBride shoots Alfie while Alfie is like out unconscious. The bomb bot goes back into bomb mode, and
it's like, oh, I got to blow up now.
Yeah, so it explodes, and then
Joshua saves Alfie before it blows up in front of her.
Yeah, because Joshua shoots McBride and then is able to drag Alfie away. Joshua runs into the crew of AI that he was with earlier. And they're like, "Okay, come with us. We'll help you. Like we want to protect Alfie, so we'll help you at this point."
Right.
And I think they see that he just saved Alfie, and so they're like, "Okay, you are genuinely trying to help at this point."
Right. You're on our side.
Yeah.
Again, technically.
Yeah. So then we get some scenes of Howell interrogating various soldiers, trying to get information to...
Yeah, there's a girl AI that we didn't really mention her because she has 2 speaking lines in the whole movie, but she's like, "All right, tell me where they went and where they're going," and the bot does, and she's like, "Thanks," and puts a bullet in her head.
Yeah. Then we go back to Joshua and everything, and this is where we finally get the big reveal, which is that Alfie is a copy of Joshua and Maya's organic child that she was pregnant with when we saw the earlier...
Right, that presumably passed away when the bomb went off.
Yeah. So Maya wanted to have these basically twins, one human, one AI, and that they would be connected, and they would bring peace to humankind, or to the earth, by working together. And so Alfie was implanted with a love for humanity so that they could bring about this peace.
Right. We also get a little bit more of Maya's backstory, where she's saying that, the thing that caused her to really join the resistance was that her village was attacked when she was a child. And I believe her mom died, or her robot mom died, protecting her.
Yeah.
And she was like, and that's when I pretty much knew.
War needs to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get robo-monks, which that's fun.
Yeah, this whole last bit is just so cool. It's this mountaintop monastery. It looks like if you've seen any kung fu movies or Kill Bill or anything, it's just a really cool
monastery.
Yeah. several times. I never quite got the pronunciation, but like whenever Alfie would say she knew where Maya was, she would say it was like,
was it Dan?
Yeah, something like that. Like that. This is where Maya was. So Joshua, when he arrives, he asks, like, am I here? Is this, And the monk's like, that word that just means heaven. That's
right.
That's not an actual place. Like that's that's just our word for heaven. So Joshua's like, wait, so Maya is dead? And he's like, well, the monk's like, not exactly. Yeah. So let me show you. And so he leads Joshua into a building where we see Maya kind of in a coma connected to all of this machinery.
She's on life support.
Yeah.
And it turns out she's been there since the night of the attack.
Yeah.
So obviously the Americans were lying when they said we saw her in person.
Yeah. And the monk's like, if she died, that would allow her to be reborn and she could go on and continue to be the Nirmata. And Joshua's like, then why don't you just take her off life support? And he's like, we can't harm her. Like, we're incapable of that. So she's just been trapped between worlds all this time because we can't do what needs to be done.
Well, so you know what that means? It means dad and daughter have to say goodbye to mom. Mm-hmm. And then we have that scene.
Yeah, which again, Alfie's crying. Yeah, and Alfie's like, "Can you take her? Can you send her to heaven?" Mm-hmm. Joshua's holding Alfie and like apologizing to Maya for ruining everything and not understanding what she was working towards. And he's like, "I love you, and I'm sorry, and hopefully we'll be together again." And then pulls the plug.
Yeah, rough. Well, and guess what? We don't have too much time to mourn because Nomad arrives.
Mm-hmm. And several military carrier planes arrive. The troops kind of swarm in. They're firing on all the monks.
Hal orders hack everything.
Mm-hmm. And she's, do whatever it takes, and I want the child and the Nirmata brought to me. She kind of goes into the same building, and Joshua's like, you're too late. Maya's already dead. The Nirmata is gone.
And she goes, she's just mostly dead. And that's when she busts out the brain scan thing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like, I want proof. I want to confirm that she is fully dead, and I still want the kid, too. I'm taking her.
Right. And maybe she can get information on the remaining resistance bases.
Yeah.
Just clean it all in one fell swoop, right?
Yeah, so we kind of got like this sort of face-off, but then...
Harun arrives.
Yeah, so he shoots Howl, and Howl shoots him.
Right. But, and it looks like Harun's fucking dead. Like, he's got a big hole in his chest.
Yeah.
But she's got something... He didn't shoot her with a regular gun. He shot her with a bomb.
Yeah, it's one of those adhesive bombs. Howl's, panicking, trying to get it off of her. And Alfie walks up and, does her, hand motion, and the bomb stops. It turns off.
It'd be a real shame if someone were to come up and disrupt this whole scene, right?
Right.
Like her own soldiers?
Yep. So, Howl's people start dragging Alfie away, and then the bomb goes off.
And I love how Howl's like, no, don't do that! And then, poof, pink mist everywhere.
Yep. Couldn't have happened to a better person.
Yep.
And turns out that Harun is okay, or not okay, but, not dead.
Yeah. Or permanently off.
Yeah, so he helps Joshua escape with Alfie. Basically, I'm going to stay here and hold off the forces. And he's like,
this is my last stand, right?
Yeah, so he says, get her out of here and destroy no bots, brother.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, Joshua is, officially on this kind of resistance side at this point.
Right. But we forgot to mention that Hal did promise Joshua, hey, you're going to go home and you're going to be a big damn hero.
Yeah.
Just stay out of our way from now on.
No one has to know that all of this, everything that happened here. If the Nirmata is dead and we can take the weapon, we'll never, make you look bad. You'll be able to basically write your own life moving forward. You'll be a hero and never have to worry about anything ever again.
Right.
But obviously, Joshua's past that. That doesn't appeal to him at this point.
No, not at all. But when he escapes, he doesn't get too far because they immediately get surrounded by all the American soldiers again anyway.
Mm-hmm. And, but he also before he escapes, he does he takes the drive out of the back of Maya's head.
So he has the engram of mom.
Yes, but like you said, he's immediately surrounded and
sedated.
Yeah, it seems like something where he he realizes like he can't get away here, so he's going to try to play it up like, okay, yeah, I've got the kid, and that hopefully down the road he'll have an opportunity to get away again. But no, they separate him from her, and like you said, they sedate him.
And then to put a nice little point on it, they blow up the monastery. Mm-hmm. Rough.
While he's being kind of dragged away, one of the soldiers says to Joshua, it's just programming. And then we just cut to like Joshua waking up later in LA. The general, the one that was with Hal earlier, we haven't seen in a while.
Andrews. Yeah.
He brings Joshua in and is like, we've been trying to terminate the weapon.
But she won't let us.
She won't let us, yeah. So they keep trying to use, electronic means, and she just turns them off. But Andrews is like, she trusts you. I think she'll let you get close enough. Maybe you can do it.
Right, here's this EMP gun. We want you to kill effectively your daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so Joshua goes up to her and kind of like holds her, and you see, again, tears in her eyes.
Yeah, she asks if she's going to go to heaven.
Yeah, and then Joshua kind of like, he leans over her. It's kind of hard to see. It almost looks like he maybe whispers something to her, but then the EMP thing goes off, and, she seems to be off.
Rough.
Joshua then like goes to the general and he's like, what's going to happen to her now? What are you going to do? And he's like, yeah, we've got a plan. We're going to dispose of her, or of it. I think yes. Joshua says her and the general says it.
Yeah, we're going to take her to the site where the bomb went off, and we're going to liquidate her. We're going to burn her.
Yeah. And Joshua says, I want to go with you. And he's like, this is not a funeral. And Joshua's like, it is for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So then we've got like a sort of motorcade of vehicles heading to this disposal site.
We find out that the American citizens, they're not for this war. They're literally protesting the Nomad site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's this big protest going on. Joshua is in the transport vehicle with Alfie's body, but then Joshua says, like, now, basically, and Alfie wakes up and...
Well, what happens is the general actually gets sent a video of what happened at the thing, because one of the soldiers is like, General, I need you to see this.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about, because I couldn't quite tell what he saw in the video, because the general's like, oh no, stop the truck, like something's going on.
Well, because so what happened was, the thing that they kind of covered up was he leans in and he goes, stand by. So he's telling her, I'm putting you to sleep, not killing you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so before they can really stop things, Alfie wakes up. Joshua and her like disable all the vehicles, right. And they get away in the vehicle they're in, and they get to like an airport of some kind.
Spaceport, technically.
Yeah.
Because they're going to the moon!
Yeah. And like there's like a big robot that's like a security checkpoint kind of thing. The robot says, what is the purpose of your travels? And Alfie says, to be free.
Aw, adorable. Yeah. And it just lets her through, like it knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Or like she just convinced it.
So they get into a shuttle, and it starts to take off, and like the military, it's it's pretty fast paced here at the end, but it's like...
Right, the general's like, shut it down. They try to shut it down at every turn.
Yeah, like ground all the shuttles, we got to stop them, but of course
Alfie takes off with the shuttle.
Yeah.
Turn the shuttle around, she hijacks the shuttle and just keeps going.
Yeah, and then it's, it's headed towards the moon, but then, no, it diverts and it heads towards Nomad instead.
Okay, so Nomad, just blow the fucking ship up with all the passengers.
Yeah.
Well, still doesn't do that.
Yep, it's not able to do that, and then they end up docking, and a bunch of security forces kind of rush in. Alfie is able to, like, vent the shuttle, like, open the airlock, and all the soldiers kind of get, like, sucked out. Right. Joshua ends up... I think he's in a spacesuit by that point. So right. He's okay. Joshua's like, okay, you go... I think Joshua's going to go, like, set off a bomb or like a time bomb, basically.
Yeah, so the job is Alfie basically disables Nomad so that Joshua can blow up Nomad.
Yeah. So they have to split up to kind of accomplish this. Mm-hmm. Joshua says, like, this is what Mother wanted. This is your purpose. Like, this is what we're here for.
And of course the general's like, all right, well, fuck you. If I can't, like, stop you guys, we're blowing up all the bases because we know where they are now. And he's like, orders all the missiles to be deployed.
Yeah, so Nomad's got this, like, almost like a machine gun turret of missiles that, right. Like, keeps dropping missiles.
It's a very tense scene. There's a lot of shit happening.
Yeah. And Joshua manages to like grab onto one of the missiles and is like hanging on it and setting up a detonator on it. Meanwhile, Alfie is finally able to stop the missile process. So like several got loose, but there's still quite a few still on, attached to Nomad.
Right. And what we didn't mention was that that Joshua had given the engram of Maya to Alfie. It just so happens that after she shuts it down and starts on her way back, she happens to find the AI research facility on Nomad and one of the many, many clones of her mother.
Yep. So she obviously plugs the chip into the Maya AI bot and nothing happens. It doesn't wake up. It doesn't seem to like boot up at all. And so Alfie kind of just gives up because, they're on a time crunch. Things are exploding. We got to get off Nomad right away.
But she does drag her into like the hydroponics area.
Yeah, it's this really beautiful garden on this space station. Like it's very picturesque. It's a perfect place for her to be. So I think then it's like they're rushing to get back to the shuttle to try to get away. Alfie, it's like at some point Alfie and Joshua get to each other and then they get separated by like a blast door.
What happens is that the soldiers are able to, I guess the soldiers, either that or it's a mistake, just shuts down the blast door. So Alfie is in the escape pod. Joshua's outside the escape pod. And then the general's like, you know what? Fuck them. We're going to send a bot to kill those guys. Turn on one of the defenses and do that. And then we get this has got to be the prequel to The Matrix, okay? Because this is a fucking octopus bot. Yeah,
it's got a bunch of tentacles and like is grabbing Joshua, and Alfie is trying to like shut it down, but they're separated. Then the bomb the bomb that Joshua set up detonates, which causes like a chain reaction of all the missiles exploding.
Yeah.
And Joshua's like, Alfie, you've got to go on. And Alfie's crying.
After they defeat the body, he's like, I'm gonna go to heaven now because of you.
Yeah, I'll meet you there, and I'm gonna go because of you. So not only does he now feel like he's become a good person, but he is also convinced that that AI will go to heaven. Joshua's definitely had like a really complicated arc over the course of this. And I think they both say that they love each other, and then the pod, the shuttle detaches from Nomad and starts heading towards Earth.
Right. That's when we find out Harun's still alive, and he's watching the bombs like come at him.
Yeah. So all these Nomad missiles are coming. Meanwhile, Joshua, because now he's trapped on Nomad, he's just he ends up in the hydroponics area and finds the Maya bot, who has woken up now. They see each other from a distance, and when they get to have like the running through the fields toward each other moment. Right. Nomad is exploding as they're doing this. It starts like falling towards Earth and crashes. Yeah,
now all of the missiles, there were a few missiles that actually hit their bases, but then there's most of the other missiles just hit the ground and skid.
Yeah, like their explosives have been, like the warheads, I guess, have been disabled. So, obviously that's Alfie. And we see celebrations around the globe of like humans and AI. Everybody's happy. Like this may be the end of this. This is the peace we've been waiting for. Right. And then we just see Alfie looking at like this, big like debris chunk of Nomad sticking out of the ground and all this celebration. And she's kind of like there's tears in her eyes, but she's kind of smiling. And that's how we end, with her just having brought peace to the world.
There you go. Kind of an abrupt ending, but we like that. Yeah,
it is. I guess because everybody else is gone. Like it's not like she can reconnect with Joshua or anything. It feels like a very hopeful ending. Like the possibilities open to Alfie at this point. It's going to be a good world, and she's going to be able to help shape what comes next.
But it's definitely bittersweet because she lost her parents, both of them.
Yeah, and it's so sad that Joshua and Maya finally get reunited, and then immediately die.
Yep. This was a good one.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's like we said, it's a big blockbuster movie. There's so much going on in it. It's clearly, it's got a message. It's trying to put across, obviously, about acceptance, and that the easiest way to lose your humanity is by dehumanizing someone else. Yeah. So, obviously, like we said, there's definitely like Vietnam kind of stuff in there, which, at this point is but I feel like Vietnam is kind of like a checkpoint for America in terms of like,
right. Are we the baddies?
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of wars we're dealing with right now where like we could learn some stuff from the way Vietnam played out. And yeah, I definitely feel like that's intentional. America is the bad guys in this movie for sure. There's no other way to interpret it. And, we've got AI that's fictional. We've got New Asia, which doesn't exist in our world. But the bad guy military force is America. It's not, it's not like Panem from the Hunger Games or whatever. It's America.
Right. Maybe that's why it honestly didn't get as much like hype, because oh no, we can't make America look bad.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, and I mean that's one of the like really frustrating things about America. I mean, there's a lot of frustrating things. Yeah. But like as like a society or as like a cultural whole, there seems to be this resistance to accepting that we ever could do anything wrong. Right. And if you can't accept that you are fallible, you will never get better. Right. The only way to improve is to accept your mistakes and work on them. Yeah. And America, right now we have all this stuff with like we can't talk about like
we can't get our heads out of our own asses.
Yeah, and there's all these fights about like we don't want to teach our kids about how bad slavery was because that makes us look bad, and we don't want them to hate America. And it's like,
yeah, we don't want to give our kids a complex because we were awful and still are.
Yeah, it's like no, if we tell them how bad this was,
they won't do it.
Right, we can move forward as a country and be better, and instead we're gonna just like stagnate and keep repeating the mistakes of the past and have people with rebel flags on their trucks who like can't acknowledge the fact that many facts, but like right. It's
you mean the weakest nation in the world's history that we know of.
Yes,
lasted 5 years. There have been Game of Thrones lasted longer. Right. Just saying.
Yeah, like just celebrating the biggest losers to ever have existed on the planet. Yeah. Instead of being like, hey, and like the thing, obviously, that you hear from those people is like, this is about heritage, not...
Bullshit. There's no heritage there.
Right. And if it was about heritage, like, you still learn from your ancestors and you become something better.
Right. And it's not like we're still trying to kill the Christians in the Colosseum or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at most societies, they seem to learn from their mistakes over time.
The ones that keep going do, yes.
Yeah, America just can't. And so if the idea that America would accidentally blow up one of its own cities and be like, well, let's blame those guys for it, and then just like double down on it so hard that they create an entire global war.
That's easily a thing that would happen, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I feel like to lesser degrees there have been things like that, like the Cuban Missile Crisis or like...
That was a dick-waving contest.
Right. Too, or all of the times that America has like outfitted, paramilitary groups with weapons and then later had to go back and be like, oh, whoops, we gave the bad guys weapons and now we got to try to stop those guys and then we'll give these other guys. And it just, we just keep making these mistakes because we just can't accept that we could make a mistake.
What's that one clothing store, Banana Republic? Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, this movie... I could see where some people might think it's a little preachy and that might, cause it to not be as popular. But I mean, it's a beautiful story. It's this big epic. It is the
perfect lesson for right now.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you can tell, like, this is the guy that did Rogue One, and you can tell, like, this feels almost like it's a Star Wars level epic, but it is a brand new story. It's its own thing. I feel like it's not going to be part of a franchise. It's going to be this one thing, and
that's good. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't want it to build on, but I feel like if it did, that would be the thing that would cause it to like start getting buzz and everything. So I hope it develops a cult following. Like this could be like our generation's like Blade Runner or something.
Yeah.
Which is was a movie that like had a little bit of attention but built a cult following over time, and I could see this becoming that.
So I'll say I liked Rogue One a lot. I thought it was really good. Mm-hmm. This is better. Just objectively, it's better.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and it's because you have like with Rogue One, you got obviously a creative person who's got like stuff that he's trying to say, but with Rogue One, he's got to fit it into the Star Wars universe. He's got to follow the timeline. He's got to fit into a
slave to canon.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this was his own playground. He could set it up exactly how he wanted, and obviously it gave him more room to do and say exactly what he wanted to say.
Yeah, like this is going on my continuous watch list.
Yeah, I will definitely be going back to this.
Yeah.
And obviously, like we didn't know much about what we were going into when we watched it. Obviously it being called The Creator and having AI, we felt like there was probably some Frankenstein-y and stuff in it. And I mean, I guess to a degree, but in the fact that like you theoretically like American culture and was responsible for the development of AI. Yeah, exactly. Like, America is sort of the Victor Frankenstein here, where they have created AI, set it loose, decided that it was bad, sort of framed it for, villainous behavior.
Committed.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some parallels there. It's subtle. I don't necessarily... if Gareth Edwards was like, I wasn't thinking about Frankenstein at all when I made this, I'd believe it. But if he said I would also believe it. Like there's enough there that it feels like Mary Shelley, definitely her fingerprints are on this, whether it was entirely intentional or not.
It is kind of the inversion of Frankenstein because it's more hopeful, right? So the creature, I mean, it still lives, but it's doing good in the world versus possibly just being a malevolent entity now. If it survived.
Yeah, it feels like, whereas, if the creature had allowed Victor to die at the end and then tried to go into human society, he would not have been accepted. But it does feel like Alfie has an opportunity here to be accepted and to continue to make the world a better place.
Right, because both of her Victors, technically, aside from the United States one, well, they were accepting of her, and they, one actively wanted her to exist in this form.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely a really hopeful, powerful film, and I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah, I think we liked it a little bit.
Yeah,
as much as we gushed over it.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything else we got to say about it?
I think that's it.
Okay, Anthony. Well, it's October. We're getting ready to go into fall break, so let's take another visit to Monster High, maybe. Yeah,
so we're gonna get 3 weeks in a row of new releases. This is crazy. Monster High 2 just came out, and we surprised ourselves by really liking Monster High 1, so I'm excited to get back to Monster High.
I still feel dirty about that. I don't know why, but I do. But yeah, it's good stuff. So let's hope it continues. But it's a sequel, so we'll see.
You never know. But I'm excited to see Frankie again and see what the rest of the crew's up to. So
Claudine.
Yeah.
All right. Anthony, where can they find us?
So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube, and we're also on patreon.com/thefrankencast, where right now we're about finished with season 1 of The Munsters, and also talking about the full moon feature mashup of Reanimator and From Beyond called The Resonator, which has been pretty interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff over there. We kind of deviate from the format, and we'd love to have you over there.
Absolutely. Well, in that case, hack everything, and to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.